she put it up for me?
I don't know anything, so all I do is listen to Leah's message, so I don't know what happened. I hope she knows who the person is, so I can talk to her.
Actually, you know what she's saying? She was she may be out hanging out with all these jet bus carriers. Right? These bus carriers.
You just can't, I mean, you can't do it without that skill. You have to do it. I was just saying if there's anything that feel like you can start.
They start at 1:20. 1:30. That's right, they ended at 1. Has Tumblr been around for 7 years?
Yeah.
What is Tumblr?
I want to answer this without being mean to it, but I really hate it.
It's microblogging. That's how they market it.
You know what to me it is? To
Cat
me,
pictures.
it's a giant stream of images that are completely unsearchable and are completely uncredited.
Yeah.
Unsearchable, uncredited images that people pin on Pinterest that are of no use to anybody.
Oh, is this used with Pinterest?
No, but that's how I ended up seeing it. You know, something will pin. Whoever the original artist was, whoever made the original product, whoever did the original, it's gone. No, nobody
It
knows.
doesn't-
Nobody cares.
The thing I don't like about it is it doesn't integrate well with other services. It's like someone will like a Tumblr, so it shows up on Facebook. And like, there's no way to view that image within Facebook. It always has to take you to Tumblr. And the other thing too is like, there's no commenting system. And so like, someone will post a picture and it's like, well, there's no context here. And like, you know, usually on other sites, if there's a picture there and there's no context, someone will ask a question in the comments or mention something. No, underneath it's just a bunch of people. So-and-so reposted this, and this person reposted this, and this person reposted this. So they show all the shares amongst Tumblr, but there's no community, there's no discussion that starts as a result of that post.
There can be.
Really? Is it just
yeah.
everyone turns it off?
Well,
Nobody uses it for
Oh.
that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, you know, we were talking at lunch about YouTube comments and Google's
How they
attempt
now,
to clean that up.
by default now, it's you can't see them. Like most comments, like, oh, comments are hidden.
Well, I mean, is there anybody in anywhere in the tech or social media world that would ever call the comments on YouTube
Useful?
community?
No.
Yeah.
No.
It's
No.
Unless it's a bunch of 12-year-old boys
It's
going,
worse.
yeah, this sucks.
It's worse than Moss Eisley.
Yeah.
Rick Scum, Scum.
I mean, technically, people could use Tumblr as a real blog with words and stuff, but I don't know how, I mean, somebody's doing a whole thing on it, so he must be really doing it for blogging.
I follow him on
he doesn't
Facebook,
do
and
it.
he mostly just shares stuff.
Yeah.
At least that's the stuff that shows
I
up
don't
on
know.
Facebook.
All I know is that it just bugs, I mean, my pet peeve is like when I see something, I want to know who the artist was. I mean, I really, you know, and I know that the stuff gets lost, which is why I always advise the people to tag your own stuff, make your stuff into a frame with your own stuff, all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, you can at least try to link back to the original source or do something, but it never happens on Tumblr. You know, like on Pinterest, at least people pin it and it might go back to somebody's website, there's a comment, they'll say who it is, they tag them,
Yeah.
get it on Tumblr.
That's been my experience that mostly frustrates me about Twitter. Like I said, I get there and yeah, there's no context. And it's like, and I'm like, well, what is this a picture of? Like,
Yeah.
why did you take this picture? And it's just, and instead of being comments, it's yeah, so and so shared this, and this person shared this, and this.
Why did you take this picture?
Right.
Because it's a cat and it's cute. What's your problem?
I don't like cats. So I'm definitely allergic to them, so I have a reason to not like cats.
Oh.
So today I'm going to go ahead and get started here. So I don't think anyone else is showing up. I'm going to talk about MythTV. And so first of all, what is it? What is MythTV? So MythTV is, if you were to define it, it's a set-top box software package. So it allows you to do all sorts of cool stuff with the computer in your TV. So one of the functionalities of it, it's a DVR. You know, and I say think kind of like TiVo, but personally I think it's a lot better. It's a media player with no restrictions. So a lot of devices that you can put on top of your TV that will play videos that only play certain formats, and there's copyright restrictions and blah blah blah. There's none of that with MythTV, and a lot of that is because it's open source. It can be an AirPlay device. So if you're like eyeing the Apple TV for AirPlaying videos to your TV, if you built something like, if you had one of these systems, it allows you to have most of the functionality of an Apple TV without buying an Apple TV. Although at $100, you know, it's not that much of a savings. But the fee stuff it doesn't support are any copy protected video files, and for some weird reason it doesn't do pictures. Although I hope that feature's coming myself. But really what it does is MythTV is your key to playing what you want when you want.
So, you talk about HDCP.
Yeah.
If something's high definition, we won't be able to play anything that has.
There's not anything that's HDCP. I haven't run into anything, but so it's at the layer of, so like a. Well, give me an example of something that would be HDCP protected, because pretty much everything I've tried to play on it plays. Like, I mean, because you can do Blu-ray on it, you can do DVD, you can do you record HD television shows and then play it on it.
Okay,
So
this just started to happen. We had a problem with our DVR from Cox Cable, and that we hooked it up to an older TV, and it says
Yeah.
it couldn't play
It was
because of an older TV that didn't support HDCP.
okay, so yeah, as long as your TV is part of that chain, then that would not be an issue. The other thing too is that's nice about MythTV, that a lot of DVRs, even though they don't have to, they follow the broadcast flag. Like I have a friend who has a TiVo, and he's annoyed that on Cox they set the flags that he can't stream it from his one TiVo to the other TiVo, and it's something that Cox has done. And he's like called them up, tech support, all this stuff, and like everyone just says, I don't know what you're talking about. Like he can't get to the right person to address the issue. And the nice thing about this system is it does not follow any of those content flags. However, if anything that requires something like cable card or any of the cable encrypted stuff, and I'll get into that a bit later, that stuff is a little bit more difficult than working with a straight a DVR from the cable company. So, but I mean, I don't think anyone would argue that the DVR from the cable company is something to get excited about.
All it is just another TiVo, just repackaged.
No,
Worse.
it's 20 million times worse. Yeah, I mean, like, my mother-in-law has one, and when it'll have problems from time to time, and usually the solution is to restart it.
Yeah,
That thing takes over 5 minutes to boot up.
I know.
So I mean,
We had a problem.
and so this stuff like that, it's bottom of the shelf, horrible hardware that is trying to do way too. It's like they're just trying to save so much money on it. It's just ridiculous. They're trying to make it cheap as possible, and so it's just not a good experience. If you were trying to decide between a a Cox DVR and like a TiVo or MythTV, I would definitely push towards MythTV and TiVo much before than a Cox DVR.
I think the Cox DVR, what they do is they try to implement the functionality in software at their facility, not in your DVR. So they try to control it that way.
It's possible. Really, what it comes down to for me is like no machine that has solid state electronics in it should take 5+ minutes to start up.
True.
So going back, so that's what MythTV is for the most part. So I say, well, why? Why would you want to go with MythTV? So again, there's no restrictions on what you record. If you can record it, which that sometimes is getting over that barrier, sometimes difficult. But if you can record it, you can do whatever you want with it. You can transcode it into different formats. You can take it and put it on another TV. You can share it on the internet if you wanted, although I wouldn't recommend doing that if it's a copywritten piece of media. You can, one of the things that some people do is they transcode it for playing on an iPad and create a podcast of their television programs that they then automatically get on their iPad, and again can sync it and then walk away from home and watch the TV shows they recorded on their iPad. It's the software MythTV is completely open source. It's originally designed to run on Linux. There are some versions of the software that do run on Windows and Mac, but its home is on Linux. And as a result of it being open source, I mean, it's fully hackable. I mean, this is a feature that's nice for some people. I understand that a lot of people that have like an Apple product say, well, I just want it to work. I have my own Apple laptop. I understand that viewpoint, but there's always those times where like you're trying to watch a program on your TV, or like let's say like on my TV, my source inputs, you can rename some of them, so that oh, this is the DVR, or this is that, or whatever. Well, like let's say the TV, like one of them, the input is the PlayStation 3. You have this PS3. Well, the PS4 just came out, and well, it'd be nice if you could have that label say PS4. Right? But because that stuff's locked down, and there's no motivation for the TV manufacturer to give you a firmware update, unless you buy a new TV, you're not going to get those nice new labels. And so that's why I like stuff being hackable and open source, is that if that TV software was open source, you could get in there and change it yourself. Not everyone would do that, but it's nice to have that option. Again, this is something that myself being a geek, I think is interesting. But this is how I myself learned Linux. So back, probably in I think 2005 or so was when I first set up my first MythTV system, and it was running on Linux. And the software was a bit buggy back then. It's gotten a lot better now, but there was a lot of times I was having to go in and troubleshoot. I was having to manually configure things on the command line, and as a result, I was forced to learn how to work with Linux. And yeah,
Do you need to know Linux to be able to operate?
you do not. But if you want to start hacking and customization, yes.
Okay.
Although I take that back, there is one caveat there, is because the one alternative would be that because it's hackable and open source and customizable, someone else might customize their setup and then publish those settings to the internet with lots of easy step-by-step instructions. So at that point, you don't necessarily have to know Linux to then implement their customization on your system. So again, you get that benefit of the community. People when they make customizations, a lot of times they get excited about what they did.
Mm-hmm.
So then they'll put it on the forums for MythTV or whatever distribution they're using, and invite other people to, hey, download this script. Here's the instructions on how to install it. And it is cost effective. I would say, again, comparing to something like the TiVo, I just hopped onto their website this week, and their new product they're really pushing is their Romeo, and the Pro, which is the one that comes with a 3 terabyte drive in it, runs you $600, plus you have to pay $180 a year. It's $15 a month is the TiVo subscription service, and that's how you get the listings. So that's what they charge you on a monthly basis, so you get all the what TV program is on when. And MythTV, when I first started using it, the listings were free. People were going through, there's a listing service called Zap2It, and we used it for a long time, and then eventually Zap2It said, well, we're shutting our system down. But what's funny is the reason they originally created were giving people listings was they always had listings on their site, but it was all for people like you on a browser to say what program is on right now. It was like TV Guide, web-based
Right, I
TV
use
Guide.
that. Uh-huh.
And what was happening was people were scraping their site, which meant that they were writing scripts that would go through their site and strip out all of the HTML cruft and get the listings. And so because everybody was doing all this scraping, people were hitting their site and it was causing them bandwidth problems and they were having all these issues. And so they realized, okay, well, if we give these people that want this information an API, a tool that they can use to get that data, then it will be less traffic on our site because it will be more efficient. I guess at some point they decided it wasn't worth the effort anymore to keep doing it, so they shut it down. So someone else, again with the community, a lot of people are using this data, not just MythTV users, came together and developed a way that, well, if we all pool our resources, we can actually buy these listings from the source. And so what they do is they charge $25 a year. So $25 a year versus $180 a year for listings is what that comes down to. And you can put together, I priced out, I thought about putting the parts up here, but I don't think that's useful. But I could put together a system that would run MythTV very well with a 3 terabyte drive in it for as little as $700. So at that point, over 5 years, you'd save about $830 going with MythTV over TiVo. And again, that would continue on over time because the MythTV, the hardware that requirements for it aren't that high. I mean, until everybody has 4K displays, we're pretty much at the point where they can play HD, so nothing else is going to change at that point. So you're not going to have to build a new machine. So here's some of the features I kind of said before. So this is like the DVR functionality. You can record and play back TV shows. That the other thing is on recorded shows, by default, it has a setting to automatically detect commercials, and you can set it up to either by the push of a button, skip from as soon as the commercial starts, hit skip, and you start it right when the show is starting back up, or you can actually set a flag to say automatically skip commercials. Now, when I first started using this, I had it set to automatically skip, and I found that it was a little buggy, so I disabled that, and so now I just do the manual skip. It's been so long and it's gotten better that I've been tempted to turn it back on, the automatic skip. That's kind of like that. What was a Dish was doing that?
The Hopper. The
Hopper, right. So it's that same type of functionality. It's been in MythTV for years. And let's see. And so the live TV show, pause, rewind, fast forward, all the same thing you can do with your normal DVR. But again, the performance is great. Like, I never watch live TV anymore. I'm always watching recordings. And sometimes it'll be, you maybe call it live because it's a recording I started, but then I jump in when it's maybe about a half an hour in or an hour in, and that's what I'm referring to there is football. When I watch football, I watch it time delayed. And what's really funny is I've actually found that for most teams, if I hit the skip button right as someone gets tackled, if there was no flags thrown or anything else, it'll boom, pop right back up to them getting ready to hike the ball. So I skip all that downtime. I can go through. I can watch football pretty fast, and I'm watching the stuff I want to see. I'm watching the entertaining stuff. I'm not listening to Jim Bob and whoever talk about the last play and blah blah blah, and all the downtime. However, if the offense is doing a no huddle, I can't do that because they're back down there too quickly. Yeah.
I have a question about recording, because with the Cox DVR, it's really frustrating with the timing, especially cutting off shows before the end of it is the worst, sometimes not starting them on time. And yet, my DVR has the correct time for these shows. So is this any better?
Oh yeah, I'll get into, I have some screenshots later on that go into showing, but the quick answer to your question is, when you're setting up your recordings, you can tell it to start recording so many minutes before and after. And so I do that, so most programs I tell them.
But you have to guess then, you have to guess at it, and it might be
I always myself just do 2 minutes, and so I always do 2 minutes on each, so I get a little bit of extra at the beginning, a little bit at the end, and I never miss anything. Although with, again, going back to the football, I always do an hour after, because if they go to overtime, I want to make sure I get that.
How many shows can it record at once?
It all depends on how you have it set up. It depends on how many tuners you have. You can put as many tuners as you want into it. It's all, because the tuners aren't that expensive. For about $100, you can get a little box. It's called, right here. It's called HD Home Run. Records HD programs. It does the unencrypted over cable or over the air. It has 2 tuners in it, so that box right there can record 2 programs at once. Plus, MythTV has this technology called, it's like multiplexing or something. So if there's 2, it's like when we want HD, there's multiple channels that are using the same frequency. And so if it's, you can actually record 2 programs on the same frequency. So actually, in effect, you go from having this one box goes from having 2 tuners to 4 tuners under certain conditions. So you can record up to 4 shows at a time. Or if you want to do that by default, you just buy another one of those and get that $100.
Yeah.
And you can just expand as you start to have conflicts. And you can also set recording priorities, like if you have a show you really want to watch and it's always at the same time as the show that he wants to watch, you can go in there and set your recording priority higher and yours will record.
Now I have a question.
Yeah.
The source, does this work, does it come in from cable, from the internet, from?
It would be either cable or over the air are the 2 sources. And then on the cable, the manufacturer of that device, the HD Home Run, they also make a device that does take cable card. So that way you can get the stuff that the extra channels besides the local stuff that Cox would rebroadcast. However, if it's anything that's encrypted, again, whenever you get to the word encryption, that's where the system doesn't work so well because encryption is proprietary. You can't use breaking encryption is against the UCA, all this blah blah blah. So as a result, encryption can be is the bad guy in this whole. Is the way I look at it in this whole scenario. And that's usually where you start to get hobbled. That's why I say yes. You can play any uncopy protected DRM's digital right management. Any un-DRM video file you throw at it. I mean, it can play Matroska. It can play MP4. Any video file you want. That you may find somewhere on the internet. I'm not going to ask how you found it, but it'll play those on your TV. I mean, it's a great little. I have not found a video file that it won't play because it's essentially using the same video engine that VLC is. So if you use VLC on the desktop, it's doing the same stuff. So if I'm playing VLC, it'll play in this guy. And then also another nice functionality that a lot of people like is you can do like the DVD jukebox. So like if this includes all the other video files, but it does the metadata scanning. It automatically does it. It goes out to TV. Is it TVDB? And there might be an extra D or B in there. And then IMDb, and it scans those, and then it gets poster art, it gets the descriptions of the show, it gets the ratings. I mean, all that stuff just automatically populated for your videos. That includes DVDs that you rip, and you can actually rip a DVD straight to the image, an ISO image. You throw it on the MythBox, it'll play that with the menus, special features, all that still intact.
Oh
wow. Some more features. I don't use the top 2 here, but it does do them. So it does game emulation, MAME, XNES, other stuff. So if you want to kind of do some, yeah.
Back on the other screen, how does it detect commercials?
There's something about how, because I wanted the same thing. I looked into it. Whenever a show goes to commercial, they do a fade to black, and it detects that it detects that special commercial fade to black. And so that's why I was saying before, I usually, when we first doing this, that's why I don't set up the auto skip, because sometimes certain programs for a dramatic effect, they'll do a fade to black. But from what I understand is that like when it does it in the program, it's not quite as deep or it's different than what they do when they go to commercial. And so as the software's gotten better, it's gotten better detecting the difference between the fade to black for effect versus an actual commercial.
And some shows are trying to get around that. You ever notice how you're watching a show and you're like, wait, when did the commercial start? Where it goes right into their, they're like trying to game it.
Well, that's the thing too. That's why, like, I also don't like the automatic skip. Usually, the first commercial after break is a movie trailer, and I like watching movie trailers. So I'll watch that.
And my other really quick question along the lines, you might get into it, is can it get things like House of Cards, produced by the cable channels? Can it get shows like that?
It doesn't do Netflix streaming. It used to be able to do Hulu streaming when they had the Hulu desktop app, but then Hulu killed the desktop app. It does so it doesn't do a lot of the streaming stuff. You can do you can put a browser on it, and so you can do anything that you can stream in a browser. So there is that,
Okay.
but like there is no
Like no on-demand
Right,
sort of thing?
not-
No
Yeah.
HBO shows.
right. Not I mean, unless you can get the HBO shows through other means. Yes, it's not going to stream HBO Go or anything like that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I'm sorry to tag
It's okay.
along with that. When I was goofing around with this before, it appears that Netflix and a lot of others things like that ran off of Microsoft Silverlight.
Yes. And
Yeah.
although I know Netflix is moving away from Silverlight, but yes, there is
Oh,
no
really?
Silverlight implementation. There was a Moonlight or something like that. I think they were working
Yeah,
on
I
it for a while.
tried that and it was pretty buggy.
Yeah, so, well, Silverlight itself is buggy. But, so, yeah, I mean, really, what I come back to is I lump all those things into, that's all stuff that a Roku will do. So I say MythTV plus $100 Roku / Apple TV, and you've got pretty much anything you want to do. And a lot of that stuff, the TiVo, I haven't used it, but I've heard a mixed bag responses of people's reaction to the interface for the TiVo for Netflix and Hulu and all that stuff. So, and I know for myself, the Roku's I love the Roku interface. So that's why I usually recommend for streaming stuff. It does do home automation things, so like controlling the lights in your house. So if you have a home automation system, this can be your central server for that. If you were into that, this is one of my favorite features of the MythTV system is a web interface. You can do all of your programming from schedule programming from it. Delete, manage your video files, manage your recordings, do like pretty much anything that you normally do with a remote control with your DVR. I mean, you can even do streaming. You can do streaming video from it, so it has the functionality of like the Slingbox. You can do from there.
So does it have Wi-Fi built in, or is it an Ethernet connection?
It's all in how you build your hardware. If you bought, again, this is the software is what the functionality is. So whatever hardware you put behind it.
Oh, okay, so this is just software.
Yeah. So yeah, you'd have a computer that you then put this on. And in fact, a lot of times, like when I built my first system, the one thing I bought was a tuner card because I already had an older computer that I had sitting there that I wasn't using. So I took that computer, bought a tuner card, threw it in there, installed MythTV on it, and I was like running. Well, again, this is back in 2005, so it wasn't quite as straightforward then. So I installed it. It wasn't working. I was on forums asking questions and printing stuff out, and that's why I started learning Linux. But
so does your computer, if you haven't run out of computer, does it have to be booted to run Linux?
yes, in fact, that's the one thing. I'll get into it in a second. But the system I use, you throw a CD in, it installs Linux, it installs MythTV, it installs a bunch of other plugins and all other stuff. You want like in about 20 minutes from having a computer with no operating system on it. In about 20 minutes, you're running MythTV.
Okay.
So yeah, I love that web interface. I do not do any recording management from the remote control. The only thing I do is I watch videos from there. I do not set any recordings with remote control. I don't delete a lot of stuff from there. Pretty much everything I manage from the web interface. The actual interface of the MythTV system on your TV is fully customizable. They have themes, but once you're in the themes, like I said, I mean it's running Linux, so you can get in there. You can modify the themes. My favorite theme has one little thing that I don't like, and I can point out because I have some screenshots here. But I customized that theme so it will be more like how I want. And so again, it's definitely customizable. And the other cool thing, I kind of also mentioned this, but you can set jobs for stuff to do with video. After it's done recording, you can do this or that. And one of the jobs that most people do is to transcode the recordings. Some people transcode them just so that it's a smaller file format because they're trying to save space on their hard drive. But again, other people will transcode it to a different format, like an iPad, so that they can then create a podcast from it and view it, watch it on their tablet. So again, yeah. So here's what you need: a computer, a TV tuner, or multiple of them. And again, I kind of already went over this. I do recommend the HD Home Run. I mean, this thing's slick. You don't even have to put it. It's nowhere near this computer. It doesn't have to be near that computer. It has power, Ethernet connection, and that's your cable/antenna connection. So, and you just put that somewhere on your network. And then the MythTV software, when you're setting it up, it looks on the network and it finds that tuner and says, oh hey, you have an HD home run right here. Do you want me to use that? Say yes. So you can put that, it's nice convenient, you can put it wherever you want. In fact, I have 2 HD home runs, and one's just happens to be sitting on top of my MythTV backend, and the other one's out in the other room. And again, you need an internet connection, and that's for getting the listings.
One of the other cool things about that home run tuner too, and I actually sold mine. But one of the other cool things is that literally, you know, like they talk about CTV in any room, you can actually access that tuner from any other thing on your network, including your phone, your computer,
Right.
your tablet, because silicon?
Silicon dust.
Yeah,
Silicon dust.
they actually make clients for all of these things, so you can access it. You don't even have to be in your living room
Right.
in order to see live TV.
Right. So I mean that's away from the MythTV, but yeah, if you
Sorry.
wanted to use that as that's okay. But I just kind of wanted to make that clear so there was no confusion. But yeah, so if you wanted to just buy one of those tuners and start playing around with it, yeah, you can have again, which the functionality you're not going to get is the recording and the I don't know, what does it do? Any buffering of fast forward and rewind? Did you play around with that?
Well,
have any of that?
Well, the funny thing is that if you have a Windows PC, you can run Windows Media Center on there,
Right.
which
Well,
automatically comes with it.
unless you have Windows 8, but yeah.
What's that?
I said unless you have Windows 8.
Oh, really?
They
got
took
rid
away
of it?
Media Center, yeah.
Oh, they took it out.
Yeah.
Brother.
You
Oh,
can't,
is that why
you can't even get it
Dad is so
anymore.
confused about everything?
Doesn't have Windows 8.
He doesn't have Windows 8. Oh, so he's just confused in order to be confused?
No.
I'm sorry, I got us way off
It's okay.
track, but I just really like that
Yeah.
functionality.
I love the HD Home Run is an excellent piece of hardware. Installations, like I said, it's really simple. The package I recommend is LinHS. It's Linux Home Entertainment System is what that stands for. It used to be called NotMyth. If you when you were looking back in the day, you may have come across NotMyth. But they rebranded, renamed it when they moved to a different Linux distribution on the back end. But like I said, you go to that website, you download the latest disk image, you burn it to a CD, and that's funny. I've actually talked with the main guy behind the LinHS project multiple times, and he said, well, I don't want to, for some reason, he never wants to move to a DVD size. That might change at some point, but he's still sticking with keeping it under 700 or 740 megabytes or whatever it is that will fit on a CD. Then you boot from that disk, you follow the instructions. It's when I first did it, it was so much more difficult. It's almost just, every time I install a new system, because every once in a while I have to, like, I'll get a new TV and I want to set up a MythTV system on it. And it's like, I set it up and it's so dang simple now. I just start shaking my head. I'm like, it was so hard back in the day, and it's amazing now. They got these wizards. I mean, they even go through the setting up your remote control and all this stuff. It's really amazing. And then, again, sometimes you might have problems, you might get stuck, you might have a piece of hardware inside the computer you have that's maybe a little incompatible. The forums on this site, I've worked with other open source projects and like Asterisks and other stuff, and I've never found forums that are as amenable as this Linux forums. Because a lot of stuff you get in there and people get grumpy and they call you an idiot, say RTFM, and it's all documented. Why are you asking this here? And it's like, well, sometimes it's not easy to find the documentation. So most of the people in there are really nice. So it's kind of a not a lot of judgment going on in there, which I prefer personally. You can also do hardware customization for remote control. You can buy like a USB receiver and a remote package, and that would be. I don't like that kind of stuff though, because that means that you have a separate device that's separate from the computer that's on a box. So I actually build my own IR receivers because it's actually dirt simple. It connects to the serial port of the computer. You can find instructions at lirc.org. That's the Linux infrared remote control, I think is what that stands for. I could be wrong. But it's LIRC is the Linux software package that turns infrared commands, that parses those infrared commands and turns them into essentially keyboard strokes. And so this is something that I have not done because I hate the cable company personally, and so I've never wanted to do this, but I know there's a lot of people that have this set up where you can actually go from the output, instead of going from a cable tuner, you can actually go from the output of a cable box, so HDMI out, and then you have to have a different type of capture card for that in your computer. But if you have that set up, you can also then use, it has support, MythTV has support for IR Blaster. And what that is instead of infrared, normally with a remote control you're receiving the infrared, this one sends infrared signals out, so it's like a remote control in and of itself. And you stick that IR Blaster on the front of your cable box, and then so that allows the MythTV system to control your cable box. There's also some other cable boxes that actually support direct control through a serial port, all that stuff. I don't know a lot about what Cox has, so I don't know if their hardware supports that, but you can actually get around that. Now, where this might start biting you is that HDCP stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know what you'd have to have. You'd have to have an HDCP compliant capture card, and it's possible those exist. If I was to start looking, I'd probably start with a POG. Is a good manufacturer of that type of stuff, and so there might be ways to do that. But again, I haven't gone down that road. And then USB controller. You set up a USB controller for gaming emulation. That's more stuff you can do. If you guys see this picture on the bottom, this is one of the IR receivers I built myself. So it's kind of hard to see, but this is on this end right here is the actual IC that is the IR. Actually, here, so this is the schematic for it, but it's really straightforward. You only have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 components. Oh, sorry, 5 components. You have this right here is the infrared receiver. This right here is a voltage regulator, and you have a capacitor right here, resistor here, and a diode. And you just, yeah, it's really simple.
3 or 5 volt part.
It's 5 volt.
Okay.
And what you get from this is, I mean, I think like buying these parts, you can get them off of DigiKey for like $5 or $10. I mean, it's dirt cheap. And in fact, I'm even saying that, I think that's because I got multiples of stuff. So, it's because DigiKey charges shipping, so I always buy multiple components when I order from them. But you can actually get some of this stuff even down at Price Electronics. But, so this is the infrared receiver right here. And then I have some wiring here. And then all of the other parts are in this section right here. I shrink wrap it. And then that Ethernet connection is actually for this. I use, if you go to Fry's too, you get little serial headers that then come out and have an RJ45 pin on it. So I do that for just a quick swap in and out if I need to do troubleshooting or whatnot. And now this right now is actually inside my computer. So I put that's all internal to the computer, and then with the IR, I drill a hole in the front of the case and poke that out, and then you can just, so it makes it just like any other piece of electronics you put on your TV, so you don't have dongles and stuff sticking out on it. So you don't have to do that, but I actually, to me, this is part of the fun of this is hacking with some of this stuff. It's not necessary, but it's possible, and I think that's cool. So here's some considerations if you are thinking about doing a MythTV system. Personally, I say dish cable, go over the air. So I was getting, through cable, I was actually getting the local channels, because you can get the QAM, which is unencrypted. They rebroadcast local channels in HD unencrypted. And so you don't need a cable box for it or anything like that. The HD home run will work with that. And that's how I was recording for a long time, because I didn't want to, bunny ears and kind of screw that. So I was getting through there, and like we had so many problems with just the quality of what the cable was giving us. Like they throw all sorts of compression on it, so you have all sorts of weird artifacts happening. CBS in particular was really bad for us, where it'd be skipping. So we'd be trying to watch a show and all of a sudden go and skip to another scene. It's just like, and for a while I thought, well, it's the MythTV, like what is the source of this problem? And I actually got down to where I was going straight from the cable on the wall to my TV, and it was still happening. So I got down to it's actually the cable company. That's what they're sending to us. And so I just went out. I spent somewhere around $70 or so buying equipment to put. I have an antenna in my crawl space in my house now, and I went to Antenna Web, or one of those websites that tell you how to where exactly to point at a south mountain and which antenna you need based on how far away you are from the reception, all that, and got a great, and reception is great. and I haven't, ever since it did that, I haven't had the problems with the video skipping and whatnot. And again, and I have noticed that the HD is more HD. It's more high definition over the air. They do compress it. You can obtain other non-over-the-air shows through other means. Disregard that icon at the end there. So I mean, like I said, any video that you want to put on it will play. That's his Pirate Bay logo.
Oh.
BitTorrent. Yeah. So that'd be piracy. And again, you know, for some people, I could see an argument where maybe if you're paying for cable, but you didn't want to go through all the rigmarole of setting up IR Blaster and capture and blah blah blah, is to say, well, I'm paying for that show, so technically you have the right to watch it. I can definitely say that. I think that's morally correct. It's not legally correct, unfortunately. When it comes to video cards, I still, you know, AMD's come a long way, but NVIDIA, I think, is still superior on Linux. The one problem is they do have the people behind Linux hate NVIDIA because they won't open source their drivers. They keep them locked down. But the drivers they write for Linux work better than the ones that the open source people are putting together for the ATI AMD cards. So I have not had a problem with NVIDIA, and I've had problems running Linux with an ATI card in the past. This is a thing I just started doing recently. It's more expensive, so that will up the price of it. But for the boot drive in the devices is getting a solid state drive. Of course, you want the big spinning 4 terabyte backend. Well, that's the other thing too. Is like if you start running out of space, you just throw another hard drive in your machine. I mean, that's just so. You know, versus what are you going to do if you start running out of space on your Cox studio? You got to start deleting stuff. You don't like. No one likes doing that. But yeah, with the boot drive, I mean. Especially for my front end, the part that's underneath my TV is like I'm going to boot so quick, it's really nice. Because it is a computer, so there's still that startup time. So again, as I said, this is running on Linux, so here's some of the benefits of being with Linux is the user community, although I say, you know, with certain open source programs, that's also the downside sometimes, is the user community. But yeah, with MythTV, like I've said, the user community is pretty great. Help is just a forum post away. Like I have had problems where, like flickering or just weird stuff that's cropped up that, you know, sometimes it's my own fault. Like I've gone in to edit something and didn't realize what I messed up. But I start having a problem and I try to troubleshoot it myself. If I can't solve the problem, I'm on those forums. You know, I'm a pretty techie geeky guy, but I'm not afraid to ask for help when I need it. And usually I get a response pretty quickly with other people that says, oh, I have the same problem, or hey, can you do this diagnostic? And then they're helping out. And along those same tokens, like, you know, you're connecting with like-minded folks. You're connecting with people who have thrown off the chains of the cable company and these, you know, the man, right, that's trying to keep us down with, you know, all this copy protection and all this stuff. I mean, you know, and so you're starting to connect, you know, on those forums and all that, like you're talking to those people, and it's really great. And again, customization. I mean, you can customize to your heart's content. If you wanted to, you could go down and start rewriting some of those drivers. I wouldn't recommend it because that's even more hardcore than me, but you could do it if you want to. All right, so here's now, I have screenshots of the MythTV system. So this first part here, this doesn't look great on here, but so this first screen here, this is the startup screen, and this is the theme here. This is the MythBuntu theme. So there's different distributions of MythTV, and one of them runs on Ubuntu, so they call it MythBuntu. And this is the theme they have. But again, like open source, all the themes are available to anyone. I've used other themes in the past, but ever since I went HD and widescreen, this has been my theme of choice. And so, like right from the beginning, you can hitting watch TV is hitting your live TV. If you go down to media library, you get into here where you can watch recordings, watch videos. You can listen to music, so, you know, it does music library management if you want. It does have some online streams. Again, that's going to be stuff that's not copy protected, things like YouTube and other things like that. You can even do it as an image gallery. And what's kind of cool too is that image gallery has like that built-in, like, you know, the Ken Burns effect and all that stuff. So getting into watch recordings, so this is the interface for recordings. You have your programs on the left here. Right now it's hard to see because of this crappy projector, but all programs is highlighted, so that's what's showing over there. It tells me I have 89 recordings. It tells me how full my hard drive is. As you notice, it's 97%. I've got a 4 terabyte drive sitting at home waiting to go into this system to help free up some of that space. So I only have 38 gig free. So you get in here, and then so you can go through and you go to the programs and you start scrolling down here, or if you start going to like here, like if you select the Big Bang Theory here, it just shows you just the recordings for that show. So again, I haven't used much of the Cox DVR or other DVR systems, so I don't know how to compare or contrast, but I really like how this works myself. And then when you then go over and select the program, again, this is all the stuff that it pulls from the listings. You know, it tells you what was recorded on. It tells you, gives you the summary. It tells you when it was recorded. Even has, whether it's 1080p or, is there closed captioning? I don't know what that one is, but has all that cool stuff in there. And plus, it also has a screenshot. Oh, what's kind of cool too is like I think this is kind of like randomly grabbed at some point, or maybe it goes straight to the middle. I don't know how it grabs that screenshot, but what's cool is if you're watching a program and then you exit out and you save your position, that thumbnail changes to the image, the position you saved it at. So that's the cool thing too. Is like you can just immediately exit out, saves where you were at. You go to continue back. It also does that for the video stuff. So when you're watching videos, which I'll get into here. So again, under recordings is watch videos, and then here these are folders. So these are folders of files. And I'm usually going over to TV shows, but we have DVDs here. And some stuff, the metadata stuff isn't perfect, and that's where those question marks come in. That means that the top item in that folder, they don't have a poster for. But so if I go into TV shows, you have all your TV shows in a tile interface, and you can do it in different, display it in different ways. You can do lists or whatnot. I prefer the tile interface. And what's cool too is as you go over the icon, and again, this changes from theme to theme, but the way this theme works, it actually has a background image that it will put on the background based on what you have highlighted. Again, you can go in there, choose your season, and you see all the episodes in that season, and then you pull up. So this is the customization I did on this theme. So before, you have the show title right here, but then when you click in, by default, what this theme does is it re-shows the name of the show. So this would say Adventure Time right there. And so I actually modified this theme so that it would show the show title up at the top there instead of the program title. And that was something I was able to do because it's all open source. Just showing another program just to kind of illustrate. If you're not watching the show, by the way, it's awesome.
What is it?
The League. It's on FXX or FX. If you like It's Always Sunny, you'll like this show. And again, so you go in, and then you get the show summary up there. I mean, again, this is just a video file I downloaded off the internet. This metadata that's all in here, this was populated by MythTV. This did not come with the video file. So it went out and grabbed, based on the show name and title and episode number, what the name of the episode was. It grabbed an image for it. It grabbed this description. It told me who's directed it, what year it came out, what the runtime is, what the user rating is, what the rating of it is. That's TV mature. So, I mean, and that's the other thing too is we don't have kids, but there are parental controls for this too. You can actually lock down what recordings and whatnot the system can view. So this is getting into so that's the MythTV. This is what you'd see on your TV screen. Now this is the web interface, which again isn't pretty. It's a little dated, but this is to me it's more about the functionality than how it looks. So you pull this up, and this is when you get into MythWeb, you can manage all of your stuff here. But on the TV, I'm usually clicking on these buttons across the top here. So like here, I have a search of NFL football. I hit that search, and it pulls me up all these programs that have NFL. The green box around it shows me that show's going to be recorded. So I've already set up, so I'm going to be recording the Cardinals game tomorrow, right? And then, so there's other stuff without the boxes around it. And then the dash boxes mean other things. It usually means that you're recording this at an earlier time. And in fact, So yeah, so this is channel 10. Now I have my system set up so that underbars are over the air, dots are cable. So 10 underbar 1, this is telling me I'm getting it over the air. And then these dash boxes around here, it's that same game, this Cardinals game, it's the same thing on channel 10. It's in non-HD and HD from another, I don't know why that's doing twice, I have 2 listings there. But anyway, and that's why this dash is saying it's recording earlier already. So it says, based on your settings, I would normally record this, but you're already recording it. And so here, if I click on this other one, so if I click in on the San Diego Chargers game here, so here's now the interface for setting up a recording. Now, when I'm setting up football, I don't tell it to record, but like let's say this was a program that's on every week. You can say, record at any time on this channel. In this case, for this one I say record only as showing. And then you have all these options here. Now, a lot of this stuff you can leave blank. Here's that priority where you can choose what the priority of the recording is. You can tell it where to put the file. You can tell it where to check for duplicates. And preferred input. Like if you have multiple tuners and you have one tuner that maybe you have a buggy tuner, one that doesn't work so well. So you don't want to use as much, but you haven't bought a new one, so you still want to have it in your system. You can tell it to choose which was your tuners to use there. And then now, getting down into the filters, this is just scrolling down here. You can tell it, new episodes. That tells it to only record a new episode. So that's kind of like doing the TiVo season pass, I think they call it. So that gives you essentially, by saying record this program at any time on this channel and saying clicking a new episode, that's the same as doing a season pass. I mean, you can even tell it to only record high definition with the flag here. You can tell it to, I'm not sure what the commercial free, but I'm assuming that means only recorded if there's no commercials. And then post-processing, tell what do you want to do afterwards. This one, look up metadata, auto-flag commercials is by default. This auto-transcode, it's kind of talking about that. There's even check right here, encode for iPad. Actually, I called it that. That's one of my user jobs. So see, it says user job 2, 3, 4. That was actually user job 1 that I created. So that's what I named it. So again, it's all this customization here. And then here's the down at the very bottom, start early, end late. And so you can tell it, like I said, record 5 minutes early, record an hour early. Sometimes you don't know, like I said, you don't know when a program's going to be on, especially if it's a sports game, you don't know if they're going to be going into overtime. So I usually do that for sports stuff, I do end late. But for pretty much every show, I do 2 and 2. Start 2 minutes early, end 2 minutes late, because like I said, they try to play games. They try. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is actually not actually an hour long. It's like an hour and 3 minutes or something like that. Like every show, because they always do like an end of show teaser.
NBC always starts earlier than the other ones.
Okay.
They do that.
So
there was way back several screens ago when you were talking. You had the most basic screen at the very bottom that said something like optics or optical. What is that?
Optical drive.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I just didn't know what that was.
That'd be like a CD or a CD DVD.
Oh, so it can actually read that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's
Yeah, in fact, you can actually set it up so where you put in a disc and you go from the menu and you can actually rip that disc. It's like you put in a music CD, rip it down to MP3 from there, and put it in your music library.
Yeah, would that do that?
Yeah.
It would?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, you can tell it to do that. And then or like a DVD. There's ways to do it because DVD encryption is like a joke. So you can install a plugin that will break DVD encryption. So you can do the same thing with the DVD, where you pop it in, it will rip it to the drive.
Oh, cool.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
We have multiple TVs,
Yep.
but they're not all hooked up to a cable box. Some are just a direct connection.
Yeah.
So now, if we want to watch things like BBC is only on the digital cable box,
Yeah.
but it's not on the regular cable.
So the way MythTV works is they have this concept that's known as a back end and a front end. Now, most people, when they're building their first system, and this is what I did as well, you build the front end and the back end in one box. But it has the functionality of, the way I have it set up now, because I have 3 TVs now that we're using MythTV with. So I have a master back end that's in my closet. There's actually no monitor, nothing hooked up to it. It's essentially a server. So it's it's running in there. That's what all my tuner cards. That's what's doing all the recording. That's what has all the hard drives in it. And then I built a second computer that is just a front end that is a really low profile box, you know, looks nice underneath the TV. It has just a solid state drive in it for booting up. In fact, but you can even do boot over the network for some of this stuff. So sometimes I've played with that, but I haven't got it working consistently. But there are some people that do that. There's not even a drive in the front end. And so that front end, you can put all those build multiples of those, which I have, and put them at different TVs in the house, and they can access anything that's on that back end. So all of your recordings, all of your video files, all that, boom, instantly now at that TV, and you can even do, like, we'll do a thing where, like, we're watching a program in the living room, and my wife says, hey, I want to lay down, and so we'll exit out, save the position, go into the bedroom, start up that front end there, resume wherever we left off. So I'm actually out of time here, so just really quick, I just want to show, this is another listing where it shows all of the things that are scheduled to record over the next couple weeks. This is where you can look for conflicts and whatnot and reprioritize some things. This is a view of all the recordings that have been made in the web interface. And that's the end of my presentation. So, if you have any questions, my contact information is there. I hope you guys have a good time.
And what's your name?
Kevin.
Kevin.
Now I know how to go in and reprioritize all my television programs. No wonder why they're not recording.
What I actually use that priority mostly for is, like, a lot of our stuff we have recording settings to record both on cable and over the air. So I set the over the air priority higher.
Hey, if you still need raffle tickets, if you haven't gotten any by donating canned goods or stuff to the food drive, you can still purchase some. We've got lots and lots of raffles still to give away for the rest of the day, and we do have a closing at 4:30 by the staircase.
When you said they have an IR roster or the cable box, is that you're just being able to watch it separately, or you're actually...
So the IR blaster is so that you can TV control the cable box. So if you think about it, you have the video output from the cable box once you miss TV. You need to be able to change channels. So that gets the IR blaster.
Checking in on Horse
No, it's just for controlling.
Checking on Facebook.
Your certificate at least? If I go over there, unless I go by Big Creek,
Well, if you go to your
everyone
Facebook
else, I either get Madison or I get
and
I can't get I'm either
stop
stuck
checking in.
with cable or TV.
And so then it gives you some options, so some of your options, and one of your options should be TechPHX 2013. So if you check into Facebook,
That's
there
good though,
should be an
got me to
option,
get out of bed
like
because I had
update your
to
status,
get
add
that
a
Good
stuff.
question. And I get
when you go to
these
check in, it
crazy
should
little
be
where some of the TVs, they have no idea what cable
option,
is.
and you'll get to additional
Yeah, it's
raffle
raffle
tickets.
good job.
No, when they're only selling under registration.
If you have a TV,
Well, it's nice
you
for
can add
streaming
the
this stuff
TV,
too.
you
I
have
want
to
to
get
I
it.
might be able to browse them
Yeah,
on
that's
the
the
So you know they live in us,
Took my
they
daughter
have
Valley
tell
this
us
morning,
people
like,
selling
Valentine's
TVs.
birthday
Don't know
party.
about them to tell us.
It's supposed to be here, so
Most TVs
I'm hitting that, I need to get some
Most
comments.
of the newer ones,
There was a slight grade that they had.
I have.
Because
higher
that's
end
how
newer
to-
TVs,
Yeah.
but they'll tell you, we'll accept the cable card, and so you have to buy that from the town.
And the ones that they're looking at lately.
Most of the ones that are, I think they had it for a while, but I think most new TVs now, they fixed it because people did, it wasn't enough of the selling point, and it cost money to put it in there, so they're cutting those margins. You know, when they look at it, say, okay, we do cable card, or we could put a Netflix player in.
And that's what I'm
Netflix
finding.
sells TVs for some silly reason.
I'm gonna try it.
It's so easy to put in like a roll box.
too.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And the thing I always go back to is, you know, once you have the TV, sure, you know, they put the Netflix on there, but like, they have no motivation to keep adding features or like if you had that, I'll bet you if you had one of those TVs that play Netflix, you know, Netflix just added profiles, $100 says there's no way you're ever gonna be able to.
We were allowed to talk about
TV
FPS last
if it
week.
was bought for the profile you were getting. Because they have no motivation. They want to sell you another TV. It was like Roku on those guys. Like, that is their market. You know, so.
It's a possibility. Chicken winner, chicken dinner? Did you say that? I did again. You
Well,
did.
yeah, it's SMBC, I think that's what it's called, would that be a great,
Did you want 10?
Since that's
$1
more of a
a
media player,
ticket?
I mean, I'm not sure if that would persuade Netflix or not.
We
But
might, yes.
that's- I don't know,
Let's
I
run
just
back
think
to
so.
the Xbox Media Center?
No,
Right around the
it's-
corner.
No, because Netflix
Okay,
is
so
pretty much
there's your
browser based when
Yes,
dealing
you're
with
gonna put your
computers.
name,
Because
you have a
that's,
Twitter,
I hear that one's starting to grow
But
as
your
far
neighbor
as
will
like for
support
streaming,
and will-
like
we
say for
can,
roots,
check with
stuff like
Facebook,
that.
check
And I kind of figured if we're building
check
this,
TechPHX,
maybe you can add that and
or go
instead of a
downstairs
browser.
to
If you're,
price table and
to
your
me,
name
if I was gonna go XDMC, I
And we
believe
will
that that's,
also be
oh,
re-announcing
that's a
the price order
Windows
that's
based,
closing.
or it can be, no, there is
no,
there is a,
It's Linux.
It's Linux now. Even though they call it Xbox Media Center, it's like, it's because the reason it's called that is because it was originally made to go on the old original Xbox, but it's 100% Linux.
oh, okay, cause they used to have a Windows distribution.
Yeah, now it's Linux. And that's what I was wondering. That's what I was wondering. Now, this is Linux. I wonder if that'd be like
It's, I know some people are playing around with it. I think it's also has everything on the main system, but I've never played around with it.
Yeah, just a quick question.
I know, I haven't
Hey.
met you, but I
Yeah.
love you.
Two things. One, where did you get your FX shows from? Is that torrents or, okay. The other thing is, and I also
So most of that's on Netflix streaming. Not the current season, of course.
the other thing is that I'd be interested to see what hard